Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Ioka versus Perez fight. If you're new around here though and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, Ioka is 32-1 with 15 KOs, and Perez is 20-3 with 18 KOs. This fight is for the WBA World Super Flyweight title. Ioka's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Franco, and Perez's last fight was a win via KO in round 4 versus Farfan. Ioka is 34 and Perez is 28. This fight is in Ioka's home country of Japan. Ioka's losses have come against Nietes in 2018 and Rueng in 2014, and he's been pro since 2009. Perez's losses have come versus Dalakian in 2020, Barrera in 2019, and Moreno in 2016. So to speak a bit more about what I've just said there, of course, this being for a world title, this being for a defence for Ioka, it's on New Year's Eve, and it's another fight for Ioka on New Year's Eve. I think he's consistently been fighting on New Year's Eve and not really missed many years, possibly bar 2017. I think most years he's fought on New Year's Eve, which is a little added thing that I suppose he likes to do. He likes to give the fans a little bit more entertainment on New Year's Eve, which I congratulate him for. Of course, he's coming off a unanimous decision victory versus Franco. It was a fight which, obviously, the first fight was a draw, and he wanted to go out there and prove to himself and to the fans that he could beat somebody like Franco, and he went out there and he did that, and he fought with a bit of a different game plan, and it worked. He was a bit more patient and picked his shots better, but he was also consistently good on the inside and wanted to be in close, and through good shot variety really utilised the bodywork, and it was a very good performance from him in the end. And Franco, even though Franco was somebody who was wanting to put on the pressure and somebody who was willing to throw a lot, not really many were getting through or really landing with much of anything really, because Ioka was blocking most of the shots. So it was a pretty shutout victory in my opinion. And Perez's last fight, I mean, I haven't had a chance to see it because I can't really find footage of the fight versus Farfan. He's on a 3 KO streak, and you know that shows that he's got power. 18-20, he's definitely got power, and it's that raw power which can definitely be dangerous. It has that one shot capability. It's something you always have to be aware of. It's something which can get yourself out of difficult situations. It's definitely a thing which is nice for fighters to have, and you don't see it loads at this weight category, but Perez has that. He's definitely still raw in that aspect though, and in technical wise he's not crazily impressive, but he's coming here with the underdog mentality. He's coming here for his second chance, a second shot at a world title, and he's here to upset the apple cart. And obviously he's the younger guy coming into this, so that could play a factor. If Ioka at some point there could be a fight where he maybe overlooks, or maybe is just not at his best, or shows that he's a little bit over the hill, and possibly we're waiting to see if that fight's going to be this one. It could be one within the near future, you never know, but Perez could definitely capitalise on possibly Ioka's age. And obviously this is in Ioka's home country of Japan. Like I say, on New Year's Eve he's going to be wanting to put on a show, so he might do stuff, he might take risks that he might not necessarily have to take, and might not necessarily take in other fights because he may be overlooking, like I mentioned. And Perez, with that one shot capability, it's always going to be something there, and it's always something that's going to be hurting. And Ioka, of course, he has lost in the past. Obviously, he's avenged his loss versus Nietes, but he still had chances where he's lost in the past, and so we'll have to wait and see how this goes. Of course, I'm going to speak about both fighters and what they're good at and what they're maybe not so good at. But we'll start off with Ioka. So he counters well. He does effective body work. He's efficient, effective, and that body work was very effective in his last fight. He's accurate. He's very good in close, got good shot variation, as well as a very good uppercut which he utilises in close. Solid, good head movement. He'll always respond. He can and kind of gains a second wind, which he most definitely did do in that last fight, where people possibly weren't sure if he was going to have that in him. He definitely did gain a second wind and then push that through, and really helped push that through into the later rounds. He's consistent. got very good combinations. He's got solid timing. He's got a nice tight guard, like I mentioned. He's hard to get hit from, and he can fight on the front and the back foot. And he's comfortable on both. He doesn't really ever look panicky or out of control. He always seems composed, in control, and like I say, a very good inside body working uppercut throw in fighter. And so to possibly say negatives, sometimes he can overcomplicate fights at times. I think, like I say, his style, it's a good style, but there's things which there's necessities that he has to be doing, and he can't be trying to do too much. I don't think he should be trying and outbox him, or maybe throw at a mid range. I think or use his jab loads. Like, obviously, I think I'd like to see a bit more, but I think he can, and he did that in the first Franco fight. He just overcomplicated it a little bit. He may be overlooking, like I mentioned. Obviously, him fighting in close shows that he is easy to get hit. Obviously, he has a tight guard, but with Perez's power, we never know if one gets through. Like I say, he's got a lack of a jab. He does sometimes not set up shots possibly as well as I'd like to see, but that accuracy is something which is definitely there in the timing, so possibly you don't have to set it up quite as well if you've got the accuracy and the timing. He sometimes doesn't put all into his shots, and if he could put it all into the shots, and when he throws in fast combinations, then he is effective with them, and he can get stoppages. And sometimes in a fight like this especially, it would be nice to see him get a stoppage if he could. He does get pushed back. He's not physically strong. He walks onto punches. He does have to let his hands go. There's rounds where sometimes he'll turn it off a little bit, but he does have to let his hands go. He can be possibly outworked a little bit at times, but like I say, if something's not necessarily going through or landing, then if he's landing the more effective shots, then I'd like to see the more effective one be the one getting the judges on his side. And like I say, at mid-range, I don't think he's amazingly good, and so that's why I say in close, he is the one who should be fighting well, and he does fight well off the front foot, and when he is controlling the fight off his front foot. Speaking about Perez, obviously he's got that youthfulness about him. He's got that, like I say, that very good hard punches. It's explosive. It loads up on his shots. He knows how to close out fights. He's got momentum. He's aggressive. Controls the centre as well, and I think Ioka might be used to that and probably will want to be countering him. He can fight out of mid-range. I think he can fight at mid-range better than what I think Ioka can fight at mid-range. He backs you up. He's destructive when he does land, and he does look relatively comfortable as well. I think there are times where footwork can be really bad for him, but at mid-range, he does look relatively comfortable a lot of the time, and he is relatively patient in his work and can pick his shots relatively well. Negatives about him, I mean, he struggled in step-ups in the past against Ioka, and especially got out fought completely. He can be hurt and got hurt in his last fight from what I've heard. He got hurt early on, and he has been hurt in fights a few times. He gets backed up. I say controls the centre. When he does control the centre, it's well, but he can get backed up if he does get hurt, and then he does freeze up in the process, and so I suppose he's not overly comfortable in that aspect. He can be wild. He will then miss wildly and overcommit and be there to be countered, and I think Ioka is definitely going to counter him. His chin can be in the air, lunges in, reckless. He definitely needs more patience. He has a lack of a clear game plan sometimes. At times it looks like he's not sure if he wants to go in, if he wants to stay out, if he knows if he can go in and out, and he struggles going in and out. So lack of a clear game plan. He's there to be hit, especially when he's questioning himself. He's open to counters, like I mentioned. He headhunts as well. He's not overly technical, and he has got poor footwork, and that is evidently seen in his other fights. And so there's definitely things that Ioka is going to be able to capitalise upon. Ioka is the favourite. I think Ioka will win via unanimous decision. I don't think he's going to stop him. I think he's going to outbox him, outclass him, completely outfight him the whole fight. But I think he's going to be wary of the power and be that smart, using his experience, being wary of it, and then be able to get a unanimous decision victory. I don't think Perez is overly tough, but I think Ioka maybe not be reluctant, but like I say, just be a bit more wary of the power and just might not be going for a complete shutout, even though possibly might be wanting to entertain, as of course it is New Year's Eve. But then who he could go on to fight next? Obviously he's getting on a little bit now, and so we really realistically only want to see the big fights for him. I'm sure he only realistically wants the big fights now. Estrada, that's an option. It's a fight which should have happened by now realistically, and a fight which is a very good fight to make. Martinez, IBF champion, is another good fight to make. I feel like I say, it should be the big fights. Or Quadras, WBC interim. Obviously, he's the interim for Estrada, but if Estrada or Martinez, any of them, or Chocolatito, they go different ways, and we'll have to wait and see if Quadras is willing to just take a fight with somebody like Ioka. I know Ioka, I believe he isn't ranked in the WBC, but still is a big name in the division. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you did, like, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.